Hey Kate!
Hey Barbara, how are you?
I'm good. How's one of my favourite human beings doing?
Well, clinging on to my last nerve like the rest of us. Oh, life in a pandemic, isn't it fun?
Oh God, yes it is. So, first questions first. How are you coping with lockdown?
Well, not too bad if I'm honest. We're in a little bubble up in Mulbarton, which is a little village just sort of south of Norfolk Norwich, and there's lots of green space, and we've got we've got a nice bit of space in our house. So we are very lucky, and we are checking our privilege every day because there are a lot of people that are not so fortunate.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're okay. We're working quite a lot, which is good. So we're keeping busy. And when we're not keeping busy, we're watching a lot of telly.
Yes. You look like you've been getting a bit of sun as well. You get a bit of a tan.
Yeah, a little bit, which is bizarre because normally I just go straight to lobster red if I even look at the sun. But here we are in a world where I've been out a few times and I've got a little bit of a tan. So yeah, I don't know. I've got no one to show it to apart from on a Zoom call. So maybe
Shall
that'll
we?
tell you everything you need to know.
Exactly. Shall we take? Yeah. So for anyone who hasn't had the pleasure, and I'm sure there can only be one or two people meeting my beautiful, beautiful sidekick. Because I'm sorry, that's how I've been like. I've kept been talking about you in all these other Zoom calls and going like, "Oh, have you met my sidekick?" Okay, and I'm going, "Oh, that's actually a really cruel thing to say," and then keep going, "No, that's fine because she's my maid of honour, so she is technically, realistically, really my sidekick at the moment."
Absolutely, it is the role I was born to play.
Absolutely, and your contract has been extended by another year, seeing as my wedding's now
Woo!
as well.
Oh, I know, but it gives us another year to celebrate, so that's good.
Oh, absolutely. So, the question I was going to ask, so for the beautiful people that haven't got to meet the beautiful Kate, who are you and what do you do?
Okay, so I am Kate White, and my company is called Front Page Media. And what me and my husband Ian do, because we work together, which is great fun. No, it's brilliant. We help people to produce the sort of content that explains to their audience how they can help them either to solve a problem or meet an aspiration. So we really help people to kind of drill down into that messaging, get it in front of people that need to know it, and just generally tell great stories about their business.
And I can second that because I have been one of your many avid followers. I don't know if I can call myself a client, but but you've helped them out many a times, and I have had the privilege of getting your beautiful copy on quite a lot of the Good Egg stuff. Well, when we were still live last year, and
Mhm.
hopefully that will return at some point next year when we actually have something to share. So
Mhm.
instead of my dodgy spelling and weird grammar, that doesn't make much sense. So that's fab. Yes, so one of the questions I've been asking, because everyone's talking about the bookshelf.
Okay.
Yeah. So I've been asking people like, what would be on your bookshelf? And it doesn't matter if it's actually a book, audio book, or podcast that has sort of shaped you or something that you're engaged with at the moment. What sort of your recommendations?
Well, I think during lockdown, I've kind of been looking for a bit of solace in the pages of books, and my go-to person for that is the writer and journalist Nora Ephron. I've got a big compendium of all of her work, and it's just so funny. She's just such a brilliant, witty writer, and I just love being in her world for a little time. So I've got that next to my bed, and I'm basically dipping in and out of that quite a lot. It's helpful. It is just kind of, huh?
Is that fiction or?
So it's a kind of mix. So she's the lady that wrote When Harry Met Sally.
Ah, okay.
Yes.
Let's know now who you're talking about. Yeah, cool.
Yeah, but she was a prolific writer. She was a journalist for a lot of years. She did a couple of novels, and they're always either it's very much, if it's not fact and her writing about her life. It's thinly veiled fiction. And I really love her writing. I really love how she puts things. She just makes me laugh all the time, and I love that. So I've been going to that quite a lot for a bit of kind of comfort food, literary comfort food. I've also been listening to quite a lot of podcasts. I really love my podcasts. One of them I've been loving is called Staying In with Emily and Kumail. And that's this couple called Kumail and Emily, who are, you may know them if you've seen the film The Big Sick.
Oh, yeah, I do know them. I love that.
Yeah, so the guy from that, in real life, because that's the story of him and his wife in real life. And she isn't in the film, but she's one of the film's writers. They wrote it together, and they're doing a special podcast called, which I told you about, and that's just kind of talking about lockdown from their point of view. She's obviously got some immune deficiencies that she's got to manage in all of this, and they're just great company, and it's like hanging out with people that are like your mates, and it's really lovely.
Oh, that's awesome. That is awesome. I've just started a book that you've recommended to me many years back, and I've kept, well, not just you, but also the likes of Oliver Hill and Neil Foley. You'll know which one straight away. Slight Edge.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty powerful stuff, I have to say. Quite very simple, but it sort of makes you think about it. And I'm really happy to report that I seem to have been doing quite a lot of that already, like in terms of my rehab, like getting, like for mental health reasons and stuff, getting my structure in place. So I'm doing stuff every day to help me in my recovery. But to actually see it formalized and start to think about how I'm going to apply that once I am better and can take on more is a really yes, it's quite thought-provoking. So thank you for that.
Oh, you're welcome. Yeah, that is a really good book. And I think, you know, I would say about that book that the point is made fairly early on and then driven home repeatedly. So if people are kind of a bit shy of having to read a whole book, it's really easy just to kind of take the initial principles and start to apply them, because, you know, it is a really simple thing. But I think it's like that compound interest thing of doing something consistently, doing something small consistently, and what that gives you as a kind of compound result it's both very powerful and it's also very easy to implement. So it's just keeping going with it, isn't it?
Yeah. And also, so when I think about when I hadn't applied that, the negative impacts it has had, it's never neutral. Like, it's either a positive or a negative. It's never neutral. Like, if you skip a day, it's not like nothing's happening. It actually has a negative impact instead of having a positive impact. So yeah, it's really got me thinking. So yeah, it's really, really good. So at this point in the call, I normally pick out a random question out of my jars of questions.
Oh my goodness.
Now, most of them have been fine. More recently, I've come to realise I must have been slightly drunk when I wrote these a couple of years back.
Fantastic.
So we'll just see what happens. So
let's just go for it.
Just call one out. So
now I'm really worried. Now I see your face.
Right. What old person things do you do?
Oh my God, that's literally my whole life.
That's why I was laughing, sorry.
Absolutely, I'm such an old grandma already, and I love it. I absolutely love it. So where do I even begin? Well, let's just dismantle all the prejudice and all the stereotypes. So I am the president of my local WI, the Swallowtail WI, Women's Institute, for those that don't know the acronym. And it is not all jam and Jerusalem. We're very modern WI, and WI is marvellous. So that's one thing that that people might consider to be an old person thing that I do. I also tend to go to bed really early. I really like to be in bed like ridiculously early, and I think that just tells you everything you need to know about my busy social life. So That's that.
I do remember, I do actually really have to coax you out and feed you a lot of alcohol to keep you up past 9 p.m.
Yeah, 9 p.m. is my cut-off point. I am, do you know, my younger self would be so horrified by this. I used to be such a party girl, you know, obviously working in the media in my early 20s and all of that. I lived a right old life. And now, like, after 9 p.m. comes and I'm like, it's time for bed, people.
I mean, you're obviously coming with me to my hen weekend in Lisbon next year.
I am. I'm just wondering how I'm going to get to, like, give a French exit at like 9 p.m. every night.
Oh no, it's not happening.
No.
It depends. If you feed me with copious of alcohol throughout the day, I might be in bed by 9 p.m. And let's
Well,
be
this is
honest,
my
nowadays,
strategy.
yeah, and nowadays it doesn't take that much.
No, me neither.
Oh God, it's so embarrassing. We were doing Zoom quizzes and stuff, and I literally, when I have a beer, because I can't handle that much, and I drink lager, we buy these stubbies, you know,
Mm-hmm.
little, and I had 2 of them, and I was leathered.
Oh my God. The bar bill in Lisbon is going to be minuscule.
Yes, fantastic. So yeah, no, I can't handle it anymore. And the hangovers. No one,
Oh.
no, I mean, when I was in my early 20s, hangovers just didn't exist. It wasn't a concept. I just continued drinking or got up and went to play football, and that would take care of it. But now it's just so painful. It's like, oh God. And then you sort of think, oh, is it worth it? So yeah, I'm more of a special occasions drinker now than.
Yeah, and I mean, I think I'm 10 years older than you, so can you even imagine how much worse it is at the grand old age of 42?
Oh, thanks, Kate. You know how to. I know what I've got to look forward to.
Nothing. It's all downhill from here, believe
Oh,
you me.
right. So let me pick another random one.
Okay.
Right. You're a mad scientist. What scientific experiment would you run if money and ethics weren't an issue? I mean, it's at the moment, I think we'd all try and find a vaccine, let's be honest.
Definitely,
But if we take
definitely.
that scenario out of the equation, let's
Mm.
say we've got a vaccine, people aren't dying anymore,
Mm-hmm.
utopia. So if money and ethics weren't an issue.
I would develop a chip that you would embed into the skin of anyone that takes the highest political office in the UK or the US, that controls them so that they can't say crazy shit like go and drink bleach to cure coronavirus, or let's not bother having a lockdown, let's just see what happens, and then lead an entire country off a cliff. That would be what I would do.
Oh, I'm not going to that meeting because I am on holiday now, which is more important than a Cobra meeting.
Yeah, all those things, but particularly I think, you know, I think this crisis has really shown up the people holding those positions who are able to do them like a capable person, and those that aren't.
Yeah.
So I think that's the most pressing crisis. And yeah, a little chip that you slip under the skin in the arm to stop them doing crazy shit. Got to be a benefit for us all, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I actually had a conversation really early on, before lockdown, with I think it was Matt Sykes, and basically we were talking about what we think might come out of this. And this was before the numbers really hit us, and this was before we sort of come to the realization of all the shit that has gone wrong. And you know, I mean, I'm gonna have to publicly admit that early doors I bought into the concept that the government knew what they were doing, and that they were actually led by science and listened to science and followed the advice that was given by science, which quite clearly hasn't happened.
Mm.
But no, I spoke to Matt about what I thought was going to come out of this, and I said poor leadership is going to be exposed, and
Yeah.
that's the small scale to the big scale.
Mm-hmm.
And it's in public and private life. So any company that has really bad leadership is not going to make it out of this. And any even local politics, council or whatever, if it's run badly and everything goes tits up, like, I don't know, I just felt like for a really long time, poor leadership was able to hide.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. But now you just can't hide from it. So you're either effective and a good leader, or things go belly up.
Mm-hmm. Strongly agree with that. And yeah, it's not nice to be in this position. I was speaking to a friend who lives in Dubai the other night, and her and her husband were asking me, you know, they were genuinely like, oh my God, it must be so awful there. We're so sorry to hear, you know, what's going on, and are you all right, and all of this. And it's kind of bizarre to realize that that's the global perception. You don't really imagine that to be the case. And it was, yeah, it was a pretty interesting conversation.
Well, it's a really poignant day. So that we're recording this on VE Day, and it's a day of national pride. And I think for a really long time we were at the forefront of so many things, and it just doesn't feel like we are anymore. And it doesn't feel like it's something that's been going wrong for a long time. It more feels like this shift has happened within the last, I don't know, 5-10 years maybe. But yeah, it's very bizarre. But then on the other hand, what I find really interesting, as we are talking about this politics now, is actually when you look to Europe and you look to countries that haven't had it as bad, it's almost like they don't necessarily recognize the success of the leadership they had. So like Angela Merkel, or I think it's more specifically the scientific officer in Germany who's been like making the rules for lockdown, is seen as an evil because he's destroyed their economy. What they don't realise is if they didn't do that, look what happened to us. And the same, you know, Switzerland being the place that I'm from, they're lifting where they never really had a full lockdown, which I guess is okay because in the countryside people are more spread out and things. But they are lifting a lot of measures on Monday quite rapidly, and it really scares me because I mean, I had a Swiss person tell me that their numbers were better for 2 reasons. Swiss had better immunity. Okay, I would leave that one up to science. And that the second point, which I do actually think is true, is that their healthcare system is more robust. So they never got anywhere near to being overwhelmed, which, you know, we've had a healthcare system that's been chronically underfunded. So no wonder there's cracks and stuff. But I just really hope that now suddenly prioritising the economy over public health is not going to come back and bite them in the arse. I really hope. Yeah,
I mean, you know, what we all hope for is that there'll be, you know, fewer and fewer deaths, and that there is a roadmap back to work that is safe. I mean, it feels like those two things are like completely incompatible at the moment. And I think that, you know, anyone with a heart would say, you know, the biggest priority is public health, and the work thing is second. But then again, we live in a capitalist society, and, you know, people's ability to earn money is also their ability to survive. So it's a terrible situation to be in, but perhaps it makes us look as a nation to our structure, the structure of our society. And, you know, there's a lot that you could change about the structure to this society, and maybe have a better way for people to live and a fairer way for people to live. But whether we're willing to go that far, I don't know.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, that's where I stand exactly at the same point as you. That's like my hope, and I know that I am intrinsically naive in my nature, but I'm just constantly think like how brilliant an opportunity this crisis is to implement change, because I think I think everybody knows. I don't think everyone wants to admit, but I think everyone knows that the way we live in an economy that is based on continuous growth is not sustainable on the planet that we live. You know, and actually, you know, so the cynic in, or the scaredy cat in me sort of gets worried about, well, if this coronavirus is only the tiny little, you know, a tiny little thing in the grand concept in terms of not economic, environmental catastrophes coming our way, that's a pretty gloomy outlook. But then you can put it on its head and say, okay, we have this horrible COVID situation now. How can we change things in a way that we don't go back to our old ways and end up with a better environment, better economics and a fairer economics for everyone? Yeah, and then you just have people calling you a communist, and then it's like, no, that's not what I meant either. You know?
Well, no, and I think, you know, you have to have an appetite for that kind of change at the top of for people in leadership positions, and I think that that's a problem for this country, because we all know the kind of people that hold those positions right now, and unless there is more diversity and more and different voices in the mix, I don't see how it will change. But then again, I think the public have to make their voice heard, because we've all had a taste now of the consequences of wrecking our planet, you know, underfunding our NHS, and generally fueling money into a capitalist society. And it's whether we want to continue this or if we want to try something new, but
Yeah.
we'll see.
No, absolutely. So to just slightly change the topic, what are the things, we're still sticking with it in a way, but what are the things that you now feel that you could easily do without that you had before?
It's really weird, because I'll tell you, in a way, I'd like to flip that question round.
Yeah.
Because I want to tell you about the things I can't do without, but I am doing without. And the number one thing above anything else is my family and my friends, you know, the people I love, not being able to just pop and have a coffee with you or go and see my mum, you know, just having people accessible to me in that face-to-face way. I hate it. I hate not having that.
The physical contact as well.
Yeah. I mean,
I'm a massive hugger.
Yeah.
Sometimes I just walk up to Nick and just give him a hug, and it's like, what's that for? I was like, well, just needed to hug somebody. You're here.
Yeah, I must admit we've been the same. I mean, me and Ian are quite tactile anyway, but yeah, we are hugging a lot more because you don't have that physical contact. And I think as well, for me, like, we got 2 kittens a couple of years ago, as you know, and they have, I do not know what we would have done without them over the last few weeks. They have been just amazing company. They are lovely little cats. They're so sweet, and they've really kept our spirits up. I can do without. It's weird because I think at some point I will go back to an office, but I'm actually quite happy working at home, and I really never thought I would be. You know as well as anyone, I'm a real office, lots of people, lots of chit chat kind of situation. I love that. I've always thrived in those environments, and when I worked from home before, I really didn't like it, but this time I've really liked it, and that's been amazing for me, because I thought this would be my worst nightmare, and it really hasn't been.
No, that's amazing. Yeah, and well, I can't really give a real account of it because I've not really been working. My working at the moment is getting up and doing some exercise and doing the washing up and then doing a video call, and that's about it. But I do agree with you, and I think I think that I'd be more inclined, instead of going back to an office full time, to more concentrate my time when I'm working outside of a confined area. So I'd be way more interested, because I tried this before lockdown once, is to go to a cafe or somewhere, ask if we can have a space, get a certain amount of people in, and then do sprint sessions, or do, to really focus the mind, but also then to be able to have well, we don't call it brainstorming anymore, but what the equivalent is, and problem solving and stuff like that as a group. But then leave that and then go back and actually apply what I learned in that sort of setting. I do miss not having people around me to bounce ideas off.
Yeah.
But then I haven't been in an office for 1.5 years, and I think it's that longevity. Because when we shared an office, on one hand it was really distracting, but on the other hand, the creativity and the process that we got out of that outweighed the distraction. And also it was fun, wasn't it?
It was really good fun. We had a great time. And I think that's the thing. I mean, it's interesting to me because I had a job when I lived in London where it was decided that job couldn't be done remotely. So I had to leave that job to move, because I wanted to move back to Norwich. I was forced to give up my job and leave. And now I work for that company again. And now the whole of that company works remotely. And particularly the job and the team I work in, they are super productive as a remote working team. Now, that's not to say that the people in that team all want to work from home. They certainly don't. And I know that they want to get back in the office when they can. But I mean, I've been proving for a good couple of years, because I did go back a couple of years ago, that I can easily do what I do remotely. And now we're having collaboration sessions on Zoom. We're having calls with, one-on-one calls to talk about stuff we're working on. And it's fine. It's absolutely fine. And I think if this situation can remove that geographical bias, so that people don't feel like they have to live in London or they have to live in Manchester. I'm not saying, people that want to live in those cities, great. And I did for a long, long time. I loved living in London. I will always love London. But, there shouldn't be a geographical bias against doing a job that can be done remotely. And hopefully this has proved to everyone that it's possible to do that.
100%. Yeah, I mean, I'm hoping, because I've got my other half working for public sector, which is again a whole different ballgame. But I am sincerely hoping that once this is over, there'll be a review on the flexibility of being able to work from home, because I know it would be actually good for both of us. That being economically in terms of commuting, but also in terms of having the flexibility and having him at home for a couple of days a week. I think it might even help him in terms of productivity. It's like when you really get your head down, you just don't need someone rocking up next to you every 10 minutes and having a chat with you. You're like, I definitely think this is a huge potential for lots of businesses, lots of organizations to harness that. And also to think about people that are excluded from the workforce at the moment because they aren't able to physically leave the house and commute for an hour, or so I do feel like this is gearing up for a work experience that is a whole lot more inclusive of people who haven't been able to work for a long time.
I really hope so, because there's a lot of talent that goes to waste because of these ridiculous factors that actually, with a little bit of, when you're forced to change the rules, suddenly we can all do it. It isn't actually as difficult as perhaps maybe it just took something like a big seismic change like this, where people were forced to change how they worked, to prove that it was worth experimenting with. Because I think for a long time people have thought about taking businesses completely remote, but they've been too frightened to do it, or they've thought it would be a difficult experiment and it wasn't worth the hassle. But now everyone's had to. I think we've probably accelerated the move towards that by quite a number of years, which is exciting in a way. I mean, we've got to find some silver linings from this horrific situation. And if we can make progress and for inclusivity and things like that, then that's a good thing.
And I'll tell you another thing. When we have elections again, which I know is not going to be for a while in this country, but whoever comes up with a pledge on Wi-Fi is going to win, because I live in the city and we've had some serious issue with our Wi-Fi, and we have the super expensive fibre optic stuff. So I'm like, what must it be like if you live further out? So it's definitely highlighted some areas, hasn't it?
It has, but I think it's a good way to prove that you can really trust the people that you work with, because they're really. I think there's always been a belief that if people work from home, they were messing about and not doing their job. But I don't know about you, but for me, the work that I do, you can't do that, because you've got to hand in a piece of writing and it's either done or it isn't done. So you will know if I'm skiving because it won't be done. So that's always been like quite a annoyance of mine, that there would be the insinuation that people that work from home don't work hard enough. I think I work harder at home.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I would say that, but also because you cutting out, like for some people they commute an hour a day, if not more, you are gaining 2 hours of the day, which means you don't have to do your washing up at 10 o'clock at night. And you actually gain more time for yourself, so for your own well-being, to do either reading, meditation, or just sit in the garden, or just like do something for yourself. So I think there's another level where actually when you look at people's health, exercising, whatever, working from home can actually increase your health.
Yeah, I think that's true. I mean, I think about the commutes that I've done in my life. I mean, mostly when you live in London, you're always factoring in an hour to get anywhere. And I definitely was doing that, an hour either way. It's crazy, that amount of hours of my life that just was spent packed into a tube train. It's inconceivable to me now. That said, I did listen to a lot of podcasts, audiobooks, and read books. So culturally, I always made the most of it, because I'm someone that needs to be constantly entertained. So I didn't I didn't waste those commutes per se. But that said, it's lovely to have those hours back to do with what I want.
Yeah, I have to admit, my listening time, the commute time, has changed. So podcast time has become washing up time.
Yeah. I've got a clean house because of podcasts.
Yeah, it's something you can do and you can sort of engage with whilst also physically doing something that doesn't require much brain activity in order to do it. I've been finding it. Oh, this is going to sound. No, Nick can't hear me, so that's all right. I've been finding washing up quite therapeutic.
Yeah.
I mean, there's also the factor that I wasn't physically able to wash up for a very long time. So at the beginning, it was almost like a novelty again. I was like, oh, I can get my hand in this glass and do this. This is amazing. But no, I've been finding it really therapeutic. And I found myself trying to find activities that are sort of mundane. While stimulating my brain with something like with podcasts or actually I've been listening to quite a lot of live music again, like live recordings, which I just haven't had time for a really long time. And I was like, why didn't I have time for this? This is silly. What I used to do as a teenager all the time, listen to music in my little cave.
It's the same. This will make you laugh, because this is going back to me being, what things do I do that make me like an old person? So I got offered a subscription, because I'm useless with music, as you know, but I didn't used to be. I used to be like so into music when I was a teenager, and I thought, I got offered, like, I think it was Apple Music, 3 months of Apple Music for free or whatever. I thought, right, I am going to find out who Lizzo is, who Drake is, who Dua Lipa is. And I literally went and listened to like a few songs because I was like, I hear these names and I don't know who any of them are. Like, I could probably point some of them out because I've seen them on like gossip sites and stuff, but I had never heard. I thought I hadn't heard Lizzo, but I have.
Yeah.
I really like that song. It's really good. I know she's got more than one, but the one I know, I really like.
I have to admit, I'm laughing, but I completely relate to what you're saying. And I think it's mostly because we are no longer in the BBC One target audience.
That's so true. So true. But I've been listening to Radio 2 for years, but I tell you what it is. It's because my preference is podcasts, TV shows and films. They're the things that I really love, and they're the things that I always go to. So I never get to music because I'm already, I've got to get from podcasts to TV shows to films before I even get down that kind of list.
And to be fair, for anyone that doesn't know you, it's not a small volume of podcasts, films and TV that you consume. So
no, it really isn't. I tell you what I discovered, which is my new top tip at the minute for people that like cinema. I signed up for this thing called Mubi, which is MUBI. I'm sure everybody knows what it is, but it was new to me.
No, I don't know.
So it's £1 for 3 months was the offer I got. You can tell I'm a right cheapskate because I keep taking up all these offers. Anyway, what you get is every month you get 30 curated films. So it's just a kind of mix of like world cinema, indie cinema, like old classics, newer films, and it's fantastic. So yeah, really loving that.
That's awesome. I might. Well, we had Prime for a little while because I had to order some stuff online. Mm-hmm. So I thought I'll get it for a month, but I hate. And then I was like, right, we're having it for this month, so make the most out of it. And we watched the Picard thing.
Yeah.
And I did say, okay, so we've exhausted that now. I'm going to have Netflix for a month. But now you mentioned that for £1, I might have
£1. Yeah, no, it's really cool. I just need to convince my husband that we have got, because I don't know if you have this conversation, but we have this conversation a lot where we sit down and we're like, you got a film in you tonight? I'm not sure if I've got a film in me. Oh, I don't know. And then we like talk ourselves out of it and end up watching like 4 episodes of Schitt's Creek or some show, which would have probably been 3 hours that we could have easily watched a film, but we just haven't. So we're trying to be better and watch films.
I have to admit, I quite like. I need to be in the mood for a film, and that is not a regular occurrence.
Yeah.
And so we have to either have a film that I really want to see, or I prefer the sort of. We record so much shit, and I love most of that shit. It's amazing.
Absolutely. Well,
on that note, I think that's the perfect note to end our little catch up.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you so much for joining me.
You're so welcome.
And well, we're going to catch up loads anyhow off screen. But
of course,
I do really miss your face.
Oh, I miss your face too. This is horrible. This lockdown. It is not nice. But we're going to appreciate real life so much more, aren't we, when this is all over?
Can you imagine our first session down the pub?
Good Lord.
Oh, God. It's going to go on for like 3 days.
It's going to go on till 9 p.m, Barbara. That is what it's going to go on till.
Okay. I love you, hon. We'll see you.
Love you. Take care.
Bye.